Hello beautiful people, welcome to the channel. Reverend Debbie here, hope you're doing well. Today's video, the week in brief. I have not been able to do any new videos this past week due to the fact that my essay was due and I am working towards my doctorate, so that takes precedence. And it'll be so nice for me to use Dr. Debbie instead of Reverend Debbie, even though I am a Reverend. There's the certificate right there. So this week I'm going to be talking about not many issues. I'm going to be talking about the Prime Minister's questions on Wednesday, which was actually Deputy Prime Minister's questions, with Andrew Rayner, one of my favourite ministers. I'm also going to briefly talk about why farmers don't want to pay inheritance tax, which is being led by Jeremy Clarkson. And poor old Nigel Farage has been kicked to the curb on that one. He wasn't asked to speak at the rally or the protest. Jeremy Clarkson, he of Top Gear fame, who punched a waiter in the face because he wouldn't serve him a steak after the kitchen had closed. I used to waitress. That's not good. It's really not good at all. That's just not done. So I don't like him. And I don't like the fact that he represents Doncaster, or he's from Doncaster originally, and I'm from Doncaster, and he doesn't represent me. I don't live in Doncaster now. I live elsewhere, but Doncaster is my hometown. And then, of course, my current favourite topic being Andrew Tate, and all the hoo-ha that has gone on with him this week, including the court case that he claimed he was guilty and set free, which he wasn't, and the burning of the Bitcoin that he has. And of course, he was also hacked this week, which was interesting. But first of all, it snowed here in the UK. Now, when it snows in the UK, people go bonkers. They go absolutely mental, and they all seem to go to the shop to buy bread and milk. In fact, I had my grocery delivery yesterday, and we were talking about it, and he said, yeah, they were sold out of bread and milk. I don't know why. I don't know why people go mad for bread and milk, but anyway, they seem to. So it snowed, it looked nice, it was cold. Then it started to melt and turn to slush. I went for a run in the snow, which was wonderful. I think I annoyed a few people who were trying to take photos in the woods, but they aren't normally in the woods. They were just people who come along to look at the snow. So sorry that I was wearing my bright pink running jacket. And now we have Storm Bert, who is causing havoc here in the UK. We've had strong winds. We've still got rain. There has been snow in different parts of the country as well. So it looks like this winter is going to be a bit pants. People have lost their lives as well. And my heart goes out to those people who have lost their lives. You know, we shouldn't be losing lives in these kind of storms, but we do. And I know that our storms are not always as bad as those that happen in other parts of the world, but they're still devastating. So I mentioned Prime Minister's questions, where Angela Rayner was talking as the Deputy Prime Minister. So it was Deputy Prime Minister's questions. And I love her so much. She speaks with her Mancunian accent. She doesn't speak with her mouth full of marbles, you know. She speaks as she was born. She had a life before joining the Labour Party that was hard. She grew up on a council estate. Her mother was very poor. And to me, she represents the majority of British people in this country who have grown up in that kind of environment. So the first question from the shadow Deputy Prime Minister, who is of the Conservative Party, so they sit opposite, asked her about inflation. He wanted to know what she was going to do, or what Labour's going to do about it. And she stood up with a grin and a laugh and said, you know, these are not her words. It's my précis of what she said. She said, how could he speak about inflation when Liz Truss, former Tory Prime Minister, crashed the economy? I think that was a really good comeback from Rayner. Really, really good comeback. So she said to Burkhart, would you prefer 11% of inflation or 3% of inflation? Which is, of course, what Labour have got the inflation level down to. And then she was asked a question later on by 30p Lee Anderson, who was a member of the Labour Party, then went on to be a member of the Conservative Party, and is now a member of Reform Party. And he actually covers an area that is not that far from where I currently live, but thank goodness I live in a Labour area. And he brought up why have they placed inheritance tax onto farmers? Well, Jeremy Clarkson himself said that he bought a farm because he didn't want to pay inheritance tax. So, Labour have now closed the loopholes on that and are saying, we're going to get tax from you because it's inheritance tax. So there were quite a lot of farmers in London this week protesting, and I think that Nigel Farage was a bit upset because he didn't get asked to speak at the protest. Clarkson did, unfortunately. But Lee Anderson, coming back to Lee Anderson, he mentioned, the fact that Rachel Reeves's CV is perhaps not all it's cracked up to be. And then Rayner turned around and said, well, your CV, you've been in the Labour Party, in the Tory Party, and now in the Reform Party. So, how to change sides when you don't get your own way. So yeah, this inheritance tax from farmers, they decided to descend on London in their tractors and their farmer outfits, and Nigel Farage went in his cosplay outfit of farmer, which he only does when he is standing up for something that he thinks is going to get him clicks and likes. But actually, he wasn't asked to speak, which I found hilarious. And I did see some of the speakers. However, I do believe that a lot of the farmers are not going to have to pay any inheritance tax. It only affects those that are super wealthy. So, we, as normal people who own houses, have our family, when we, pop our clogs, have to pay inheritance tax over a certain amount of money. So why not on farmers? Anyway, just my thoughts. So the fun part of the week, Andrew Tate. He was in court again on Tuesday, and he left court saying that he's free and that all the evidence has been thrown out and blah, blah, blah. So all the tater-totters were coming onto my feed saying, oh, he's been set free. And I'm like, no, he actually hasn't. There are 75,000 pages of evidence against Tate. 4 pieces of evidence were rejected by the court. And these were due to procedural errors. Now, I'm going to get into that more in a video later on in the week, but they are due back in court on the 10th of December. They are not free. They are still under house arrest, and that's going to continue until either the court throws the case out, which I doubt very, very much, or they are, sent to jail. And even if they aren't set free from Romania, they will be extradited to the United Kingdom and they will face charges here. So I will go into the detail of these 4 evidence papers that were thrown out in the video later on in the week. But also, which is really funny this week, Tate's Real World was hacked, which I think is hilarious. I'll talk about that in the video as well. And he's been burning his Bitcoin, trying to make money off of all you poor guys who keep paying money for his being in his real world and following his cult. And he was telling you all to sell, to buy Bitcoin, his Bitcoin, while he was selling his, and it dropped. It dropped. So he's still under house arrest. There are 75,000 pages of evidence, minus the 4. And he will be going to court on the 10th of December. So, if you've got any comments, pop them in the comments section below. I will hopefully see you again next week for the Week in Brief. Until then, blessed be.